discussions with folks from around the globe. And absolutely, Vishek, that's one of the pros of being in a community, that you could get in discussions and communities about all the different concepts and ideas and perceptions. Awesome. And now we begin the live stream. Again, those of you who just joined us, let us know in the chat where are you dialing from, and use the emojis to tell us how the weather is like there. We know that it's snowy in many parts of the world right now, and rainy and cloudy in some of the other parts. And if you've started the challenge course, tell us how you're feeling about it. We'll wait for a few minutes until 9 a.m. PT, so that more of your peers could join us for the orientation, and then we'll get started. Someone is asking about how can they add an emoji in the chat. So in the chat where you're typing, you would see at the like top right corner of that typing box, you would see like a little emoji sign there. Click over it and you'll see all the sorts of emojis there.
Palak, you might be getting some Slack pings. Might want to turn down your Slack message.
Yes. Just doing that. Okay. Okay, all set. And I could see someone from Jharkhand, India. Don't worry if you don't see the emojis there. It might be some version of Zoom. Let us know in words. From Jordan. Yomi is from Lagos, Nigeria, and it's hot there. So some like, okay, a different weather. That's awesome. Okay, now that we've hit the time, I'll get ahead and start sharing my screen. Give me a thumbs up if you guys are able to view the orientation. Awesome. Okay, since we have it all packed, let's get started without any further ado. So hello again to all the Bertelsmann scholars, those who are here right now in the live session, and also those who are joining us in the live stream. A huge welcome to the orientation session for challenge phase, or as we call it, phase 1 of the Bertelsmann Technology Scholarship Program. We are extremely thrilled to be with you today. I'm Palak, your community manager for this learning adventure, and I'm dialing in from New Delhi, India, which is getting colder by the day. And we are joined by Brenda Law, the most loved community manager from Udacity, who also leads the specialty community at Udacity. Brenda is dialing from San Francisco, California, and which is over there in the United States. And it also happens to be a lot cloudy and rainy, as you mentioned, these days. And again, we are so excited to virtually meet you all and kick off this journey. As we get going, just wanted to take a pause and just give you a big and warm congratulations. You stood out and made your way through a very competitive pool of applicants, and you should be extremely proud of yourselves for this. We are extremely proud of all of you. Okay, let us get quickly over some housekeeping items. First of all, to make it as effective as possible, all the communication all the attendees are muted. This orientation session is being recorded, and also we've posted the live stream links on the Google site and the Slack workspace. So do not worry if you miss any part of it, or if you want to go through it again. Also, this if you drop off at any moment, again, you can join the live stream. We will be again adding the recording and the slide to the Google site, and as well as we'll be communicating both of those to you through the Slack workspace in the announcements channel by the end of the day. So don't worry if you get cut off. Also, we will be, as Brenda had mentioned, we'll be leaving 10 to 15 minutes of time towards the end of the session for a live Q&A, but you can start posting your questions already during the session too. And here's how you can do it. If you have a question, you can post it in the Slack channel called AMA Sessions of your track's Slack community. If you come across a question or a statement in that particular channel that you also want to ask or you agree with, then rather than posting it again, just leave the heavy plus emoji that you can see on the slides on that particular comment or question. For the Q&A session, we'll start with the questions that have the highest number of heavy plus emojis, because it tells us that many of you are looking for an answer for it. And Brenda will be there helping us moderate the chat here in Zoom, and also in collecting your questions from the Slack workspaces. Okay, today's agenda. Glancing over what we will be covering today, we'll begin with a quick glimpse of Udacity's history, moving to an overview of the scholarship program. Next, we'll talk about how to access the challenge course and how to make the best use of it. Then we will tap into the community, talking about Slack and the community initiatives that you can participate in, and also about all the resources that you will have at your disposal in phase 1. Later, you will hear from Ashwin Vijay Kumar, who is also a Bertelsmann scholarship winner from past year and also a graduate, so an alumni, and you'll get to hear his experience on how to succeed in the program. And finally, we'll be wrapping up with the Q&A session. Okay, so here's a little peek on how it all started. One day in 2011, the celebrated Stanford academician Sebastian sits down in his living room with an inexpensive digital camera and starts teaching over the internet using a stack of napkins instead of a chalkboard. So over the next 3 months, the professor offers the same lectures, assignments, and exams to the masses as he does to the Stanford students. And some 160,000 people sign up across 190 nations. The youngest student being a 10-year-old and the oldest being a 70-year-old. What shocked the professor the most was that in the final assessments, none of the top 412 scorers were belonged to the Stanford. So Sebastian's experiment, this experiment called Massive Open Online Course, was put into such wide use that NYT had declared it as declared 2012 as the year of the MOOC, and rest is history as we all know it. A still from back in time when the videos of Udacity used to be recorded in Sebastian's basement. And the fancy first dashboard of Udacity for keeping track of student enrollments. And this is how year by year Udacity is increasingly opening up new learning opportunities for scholars across the globe through the various scholarships. Now, before we move forward with the orientation, I would love it if you could all take a moment and pause and briefly think about the following prompts, as you can see on the slides. What brought you here today? What is keeping you motivated and inspired to succeed in this course? And lastly, what do you hope to get out of this scholarship program? Why are we doing this? Research indicates that people who very vividly describe or picture their goals are anywhere from 1.2 or 1.4 times more likely to succeed and accomplish in their goals than people who don't. And therefore, this little exercise. Also, we'll be coming back to whatever you are sharing as your motivations here during the midpoint of this journey, and also towards the end to see how far you've gone. So please jot them down somewhere right now, and we will come back to them towards the end of the session, and then at the midpoint of this journey, and then towards the end of phase 1. Okay, without further ado, let's get back to our regularly scheduled programming, kicking things off with the program overview. A structure of the overview of the structure of the scholarship program. There are 2 phases of the scholarship program. The first phase is called the challenge phase, and this is where you are residing right now, and you will be there for the next 9 weeks. During phase one, you'll work through the challenge course, and don't forget to take advantage of the Slack community while you are there. Here, you will be able to engage with and receive exclusive support from your community manager and classmates. If you haven't already, as we've mentioned, please go ahead and join the Slack workspace for your respective track today itself. And phase two, which is after you complete phase one, 1,600 scholars out of the 15,000 scholars in phase one will move on to phase two, which is where you are actually enrolled in the respective nano degree program per your track. In this phase, you will work on completing your technical projects using the skills that you've learned from the challenge course as well as the nano degree itself. You will need to pass all your technical and career projects in phase two in order to graduate and receive your nano degree certificate. Now, the most important question of all, how do you move to phase two? Selections for phase two are based on the following criteria. First, you must complete 100% of the challenge course material. This means that all the lessons must have been reviewed, all the exercises must have been completed, and each and every quiz should have been attempted. Now, what do we mean when we say attempted? So a quick note about that. It is important to remember that you will not be penalized if you mark an answer wrong in a quiz or an exercise. What is important is that you go through each of the questions and each of the exercise in your challenge course and you attempt it, regardless of whatever the answer you're receiving. You will not be penalized based on an incorrect answer. So what matters is that you are going through it. And the second criteria for selection is the final assessment. More to come on this in just a bit. Lastly, a reminder that in this phase, that is phase one, there are no official projects that you have to submit. So your challenge course does not consist of any projects. Okay, now what is the final assessment after all? Quick notes about it. This test will consist of questions that will test your knowledge of the concepts covered in phase one of your challenge course. And therefore, it is even more important that you complete 100% of the coursework. And as some of you have already discovered, details about the final assessment are also available inside your challenge course in the congratulations or final assessment modules. So we will be going through some of the details, but if you want to review them, you can always do it inside your classroom also. Now, going over some of the characteristics of the final assessment test, the test will open up on February 16th and will remain open for 48 hours until February 18th, 10 a.m. Pacific time. A link to the test will be emailed to each one of you on February 16th. And there is no other date available for the assessment test. So make sure to reserve some time on your calendar between February 16th and February 18th to attempt the test, because it is very important that you're attempting the test, because it is a requirement, a criteria for moving ahead to phase two. The final assessments can only be attempted once, so you'll have to be careful while submitting it and be prepared for it before you start it. It will be conducted online and it will be in MCQs format. One other important thing to note is that the final assessment will be kind of a linear test. So you won't be able to go back on questions to change its answer once you've attempted it. Or if you have skipped any question, you won't be able to go back and mark an answer for it. So yeah, you have to be extremely careful while you're marking the answers and deciding whether you want to skip a question or not. You can find more details about the test on the FAQs available on the Google site. We will also keep adding more details of the test in these FAQs as we move deeper into the program. So don't worry if any of your questions regarding final assessment has not been answered yet. We will be collecting more questions and gather information. We'll gather information from the team and we will keep adding it to the FAQs. Now let's talk through how to get started with the challenge course, which, as you remember, is like 100% course completion is one of the criteria of selection for phase two. Okay, the challenge course is already live in your classroom. You can log into your Udacity account right now and see the challenge course card right there on the homepage under the title Current Paid Enrollments. You should have access to your respective course cards for your scholarship program. You can see the how the course cards for your respective tracks would look like. For example, for AI track, the course card would read Intro to ML with TensorFlow. And you can just click into the button there, Program Home, and that will take you inside the challenge course. Now, once inside the course, you can begin your journey with the welcome lesson. We highly recommend taking a look at all the modules in the welcome lesson, as they will help you get oriented with the Udacity classroom and all the tools that you'll be working with. Especially for Cloud Track, you will find the instructions to utilize the Azure Lab in lesson 2 of the welcome module. And AI Track, you'll find instructions to install Python in the welcome module. Now, once you've completed the welcome module, go ahead and get started with the technical content, which is located in the second module on the right side of the page. Now, for each scholarship track, there are a few recommended prerequisites, as you can see by the list provided on the screen. In case you're not very confident about one or more of the prerequisites, we will recommend that you plan up your schedule for the 9 weeks and utilize some of the time to brush up on some of the prerequisites. And you can always utilize the Udacity's pool of free courses to build on the prerequisites. Now, something you should be aware of is that in order to make sure that the scholarship opportunities are utilized to the maximum and optimizing the opportunities, an active participation criteria has been introduced for phase 1, and under it, any enrolled scholar who does not start the program by January 4th, 2022 will be unenrolled from the program. Now, all you have to do to fulfill this active participation criteria is to make sure that you have started the challenge course well in time before January 4th, 2022. And it boils down to 2 simple steps. Log into your Udacity account, click on the challenge course card, and at least complete one, click into one lesson and at least complete one concept inside any of the lessons to make sure that you're not unenrolled from the program after January 4th. And once you complete a concept, you will see that a green check mark will appear against it in the left side of the screen inside the classroom. Okay. In order to set you up for success in addition to brushing up on the prerequisites, we have a few more recommendations that we've specially collected over the years from our most successful students. Most notably, please plan to spend at least 2 to 4 hours on the course each week. It does not necessarily need to be directly inside the classroom, but at least setting aside the time to devote to the course. This could include consistent study sessions that will help you retain information and outline when you might set up the time during your week devoted to spending time inside the classroom. And don't be afraid to ask for help. That's what this amazing community is all about. You can reach out to your community members via the Tech Help channel or the lesson channels inside your track Slack community. And last but not least, conquer the imposter syndrome. 82% of people experience imposter syndrome within the first few weeks of starting a new job or a new project or just going into a new setting. So some steps to conquer it and combat it: start by understanding exactly what you're feeling and labeling what you're going through. This will make it easier to find a solution. And you can only hamper yourselves more by negative self-talk, so move right away from it. If we let the imposter syndrome stop us from trying something new, we can miss out on incredible opportunities or even just opportunities to make mistakes, learn, and grow. So wherever you're feeling as an imposter, you are trying to move away from certain thing, please think about it, that what is it that you will be missing out if you move away. And finally, yes, we are bound to make mistakes, but that doesn't mean that we are not meant to be in this role or to be pursuing a certain path. Instead, admit where you went wrong, try to identify it, and work to make it right. And sharing some amazing work from home productivity tips, as due to COVID, we have some of us and most of us have been working from home. This was actually shared by one of my colleague in one of our internal learning sessions. I'll leave it up to you to go through each one of it, but would want to highlight my favorites. And the first one is like eliminating the distractions. A research has actually shown that it was conducted by University of Austin and on some of the students. And even if it says that even if we are keeping a phone or something else, some digital distraction, even if it is in our vicinity on the same table where we are working or whatever, if we are reading, it's still consuming some of our brain activity. So whenever you want to really go into that focus mode, you have to remove that physically distance those distractions from you. And one more would be the fourth one, managing your energy. Often when we are loaded with work or we are fighting with schedules, we disregard the most is our body. So a little tip would be to treat your body like a plant, nurture it, nourish it, and you'll definitely see the fruits of it in terms of your brain efficiency. And then finally, embracing the asynchronous and focusing on the contribution, creating the cognitive associations. The fifth one, using a focus trigger, and I think I would really like to use it more. So at times you don't feel like it in that you are in the work mode or you are into the learning mode. So identify something that helps you get into that mode and use it as a focus trigger to initiate that efficiency of yours. Okay, some key things to note. The course is accessible. The challenge course is accessible to you 24/7. So you can work on it at your own pace. Only that we recommend that you don't leave it for the end, and make sure that you are well in time to finish the challenge course by the deadline of February 14th, 2022. Also, a very important thing to note is that 100% course completion is a criteria, but there is no indicator inside the classroom to let you know that you've completed 100% of the course. You might see a 100% viewed remark inside the classroom, but we want to highlight that it does not mean that you've actually completed 100% of the course. For this, to ensure that you've completed the course, all you can do is a manual double check to make sure that you've watched all the videos, attempted each and every quiz, completed all the exercises of the course. What you can also do is you can work on the course at your regular pace and then use some buffer time towards the end, maybe a week or two, to manually like double check that you've completed each of the concepts inside the classroom. And then as we talked about it, in order to remain inside the program, you have to make sure that you start the challenge course before January 4th, 2022. And when the final assessment opens up, in order to be eligible for phase 2, you'll have to take the final assessment between February 16, 2022 and February 18, 2022. Now, moving over to Slack community. Okay. For those of you who have not joined the Slack community yet, just wanted to give a reminder that you can find the invite link inside the welcome module of your classroom, or you would have also received an email highlighting the invite link for your Tracks community workspace. So utilize it to join the Slack community. Now we have created a dedicated Slack workspace just for each of the scholarship program, each of the track of the scholarship program, and we are excited to tell you more about it. Once you are inside Slack, you'll find that the community serves a variety of purposes. It's where you will easily connect with your classmates, your global classmates, chat with your peers about a particular lesson, where you can get and give exclusive help with technical questions and receive that support and motivation which is needed when things get tough. It is also where you will participate in the different community initiatives which we've lined up for you and which we'll talk about in a bit. Also, if you're new to Slack, do not worry. We have lots of resources to get you up and running. One of the biggest one is a Slack tutorial, which is linked here or linked on the homepage of our scholarship Google site. We also have a how to use Slack tab dedicated to Slack on the scholarship Google site. So you can utilize these resources to to learn some of the tips and tricks around navigating Slack. And if you are wondering at all on how and why are we placing such an emphasis on Slack, it is because we've stats that support it. From all of our previous scholarship programs, what we have noted is that scholars who are in Slack are twice more likely to complete their challenge course and even be more successful in the nano degree program. And it is therefore we would urge and request you to be a part of the Slack communities. Now, once you have stepped inside Slack, here are some things that we want you to consider. First of all, please make sure and utilize some time to set up the Slack profile. There are simple things like setting up your Slack display name and then something about what are you currently doing. It helps your peers in connecting with you and reaching out to you. Also, what we've seen from previous programs is that like gradually as you move deeper into the program, your CMs and your peers will identify you with your Slack display name. So try to make it as unique as possible, and also try to keep it in such a way that it has no spaces. You can use a period to indicate a space if needed, and also try to avoid using any special characters. Again, this holds only for the display name, so you can always use spaces and special characters in the full name as is indicated on the screenshot. Now, some community guidelines to work with when you are in the Slack workspace. Be respectful and kind to others. Remember that we are a global community. Please be mindful and considerate that we have different cultures and languages here. Whenever possible, try to read what you have written before posting, as we don't want something to be taken the wrong way. Also remember that we are all here to learn and grow together, and we can only do that by listening and accepting to constructive criticism gracefully. Likewise, if you are the one providing feedback, please keep it constructive and in a very respectful manner. Be kind and sensitive to how your feedback might be received. Finally, it is extremely important that we are providing a welcoming and positive learning environment in Slack, but we can only do that with your help. Please take a moment and read our community code of conduct that lives on the Google site. Any violation of this code of conduct, I would like to stress, will result in an initial warning, and then if warranted, it can also result in complete removal from the scholarship program. So please be mindful of the code of conduct and please go through it thoroughly. Now, some quick tips to navigate along the Slack workspace. We know that how overwhelming the Slack workspace could be, especially in the first few weeks of the program, but we do not want you to feel overwhelmed. Slack is really at its peak right now with everyone just streaming in, but we promise to you that things will calm down. And so some quick tips to help you navigate the workspace efficiently. The first tip is to always pay attention to the announcements channel. If there is only one channel that you can read through in the Slack workspace right now, that should be the announcements channel. It is because your community manager, that is me, will be posting important information and updates in this channel. So to be aware of everything that's going on in the program, please make it a habit to check the announcements channel every day. Next, don't be concerned about following every channel again. Instead, pick a couple of the channels to concentrate on, and you can then add more channels to follow when you're ready. And the most important thing, we are in a free Slack workspace, which means we have a limit of 10,000 messages before they start running over, and you'll go crazy if you try to track every single channel because it's just not possible. There will be conversations that you'll miss or you will never see, and that's okay. Trust us when we say that the most important items will be repeated and shared by your peers. So as mentioned before, please be mindful, do not feel overwhelmed, and pick some channels that you would want to follow and only follow them if you're feeling overwhelmed at this moment. Lastly, stay active by participating in the community initiatives and consider forming a study team or reaching out to a study buddy to stay accountable during this journey. Now, some key things to note is that our Slack, that our Slack workspace is on a free plan. So in case you're seeing something that you would like to preserve for future, note it down or utilize some other, if you already utilize some digital notebook or bookmarking system, you can turn it over there, or bookmark it in the Slack workspace also. And also you can help us by being conscious over what you post. For example, if someone asks in Slack, what's the deadline for this program? There's no need for 10 of you to reply to it. If there's someone who has already given the date, that's okay. Likewise, take a moment before you post and think about what's the best channel to post in. Then put your message in that one channel versus posting it in every channel, because, well, that's spamming. Now, please don't get us wrong. We're not saying we don't want you to chat or talk about fun things, because we love your conversations and we would definitely would want to encourage them, because they are helping forge the relationships and helping to build a really strong community, which is going to be crucial for you in phase 2. We're just asking you to be smart and considerate while posting in Slack. Now, moving right along to highlight just a few of the fun things that we've planned for you during the next 9 weeks. Here's a little timeline of all the community events that will be happening. They might be, and you can also find the details of them on the community page of the scholarship Google site. And also as and when the community initiatives happen, the details will be added in the announcements channel and also on the track-wise tabs on the scholarship Google site. Now, student advocates, this is the first program. You don't have to have the leadership experience to volunteer for this initiative. You just need the passion, the willingness, and a little bit of extra time to help out. And our student advocates will be working in teams for the scholarship program and will be responsible for managing one of our Slack channels. This can include organizing events that embody their team's channel theme. For example, if you're part of the motivation team, you can moderate the motivation channel, introduce some activities around it. For example, if in the past we've had advocate teams organize an online stretch class or brain breaks. So the beauty is that it's all up to you and your team, and the sky's the limit. And applications for the student advocates will open up on this Friday. So keep a look on the announcements channel. Daily Scrum, again, what we've observed in the that a lot of technical recruiters and then the corporate environment involves a daily Scrum routine, and which is why we also wanted to build something of that sort as a habit during the challenge course. So there will be a similar structure where you will be daily noting down your progress in the challenge course in the daily Scrum channel of the Slack workspace. You will also be identifying daily what has been your progress, what are your goals for the next day, and and also especially identifying what is blocking you from making your desired progress. So yeah, keep an eye out, as the first sprint for daily Scrum will be launching on coming Monday. That would be December 20th. Now, if you have an idea for a community event or an initiative, what would you do? We are so actually we've had some great ideas in the past of our scholarship communities, and actually these are the best ideas that we've seen for a community. They've been very useful and productive for the communities. So if you have one, please go ahead and realize it. First of some of the steps that you can take to actually put to practice is that you can post an idea or about a description about it in the general discussion channel or the random channel, and see and gauge how much interest is there about it in the community. Next, you can prep for it. You can even ask your peers to help you with it and volunteer, and then you can promote it. And don't forget that if it entails any particular event or a schedule, please add it to the scholarship's calendar. Each track has its own calendar. You can find it linked under the tracks tab on the scholarship Google site. There are also steps on how you can add an event to the calendar, which would be visible to everyone, all of your peers. So whenever you're planning an event or initiative, the most important thing, when you've come to the final point, make sure to add it to the calendar. and some weekly routines. We just wanted to get into the practice of realizing some healthy rituals in the workspace. So we'll be sharing some motivations around in the workspace or the community on Mondays, so that we can start the week on a strong foot. And then around midweek, we'll be exchanging some wellness tips to stay strong for the whole week. And then there will be some forecast in the Friday announcements, where you'll get to know what's coming in for the next week. Now, this is a challenge phase, and it is also because it does not include any technical help as such, but then there are various resources that you would have at your disposal, and we are just going to talk about that. First of all, the scholarship Google site, as some of you would have already seen, you'll find exclusive FAQs about the different stages of the scholarship program on this site, details about all the community initiatives, also the Slack announcements, archived Slack announcements, because the workspace has a message limit and the messages will start to disappear. And also resources like how to use Slack. And as we move further into the program, we'll keep adding more things and resources as your peers generated something to help you with your challenge course and other things like that. So make sure to bookmark the Google site, as this will be your most updated resource to know what's going on in the program. Your classmates, and these are the best resources that you're going to have in this journey. So definitely lean on each other, give and take support to each other, and utilize this resource to the maximum, as is something that we'll like to say. We've also included a quote here from one of our previous scholarship scholar. So please take your time when we share the deck to go through this, and yes, realize, lean on each other and utilize this resource. And your community team. So as we've met already, I'm Palak, your community manager, and my Slack handle would be palak.udacity. You can, for a starter, you can, for any specific questions that you have regarding the logistics, you can refer to the scholarship Google site, and especially all the FAQs that we've listed there. Then you can check the announcements channel in the workspace for any updates, especially regarding community initiatives. Also attend the Ask Me Anything sessions, which I will be hosting in each of the workspaces. And the time, this will be weekly sessions, where in the AMA sessions channel, where I'll be answering all of your administrative and non-technical questions regarding the program, and the dedicated time. I've listed down it in the next slide. And please, one thing that I'll definitely like to note is that I will be the only community manager supporting this cohort of 15,000 scholars. So please be cautious of it, and only in case you have a very, very sensitive question or a comment to make, or some query. Only in that case, reach out to me in a direct message. But otherwise, if you have a general query that you think that others could have too, please reach out, tag me in a community channel, because first of all, it helps me in answering you quickly. It helps you in getting your answers quickly, because while I am away, some of your peers could get back to you on that question, and you would have your answer in very quickly. Also, because many of your peers would share the same question. So instead of looking at 10 DMs, it will be just one answer in one of the channels that I'll have to post, and many of your peers would have their queries resolved too. And now, as we were talking about the AMA sessions, these will be hour-long Q&A sessions, which will be conducted weekly, starting the next week of December 20. And you can get immediate answers to any of your non-technical administrative questions regarding the program. Here is a schedule for each track's weekly sessions. You can also find it on the scholarship calendar for the tracks. And the support team, you will have extensive support from the Udacity support team, but will encourage you that unless it is an account related question, try finding the answer in the Slack workspace, on the Google site, and even on the FAQs page, the help center, which is another resource from the support team of Udacity to help you find answers to your questions. You can, if in case you don't find your answers anywhere, you can submit a request to reach out to the scholarship support team. Here are some examples on highlighted on what are the things that you can consider reaching out to support for. For example, if there is a change in the registered email address, or you've got accepted into a program but you do not see the course card, so you can reach out to the support team for account related questions. And okay, so we have our so Ashwin had actually had a class at this time, like very near to the time to the actual to when the orientation was about to begin. So he actually agreed to record his message, and I'll go ahead and play it. Okay. Hey everyone, so as we mentioned, we have Ashwin Vijay Kumar, who is an alumni of the Bertelsmann Technology Scholarship from the previous year, 2020-2021 cycle. And we are so grateful for Ashwin that he could join us today and share some of his experience and insights from the previous Bertelsmann Technology Scholarship program with you all. Ashwin is currently a master's student of data science at the Kingston University, London. Obviously, he's also a winner of the previous Bertelsmann Scholarship and also a recent graduate from the AI track. And apart from the AI track of Bertelsmann Scholarship 2020-21, he also has graduated from some of the other programs of Udacity, like the Machine Learning Engineer Nano Degree, AI for Trading Nano Degree, Intel Edge AI for IoT, and then the AI Product Manager Nano Degree program. Hey Ashwin, thank you so much for joining us today, and over to you.
Thank you, Palak. It's a good opportunity to speak to everyone at the stage. So as Palak said, I'm an MSc student of data science at Kingston University. And I like the Udacity courses because they are very good. They are high quality courses, high intense courses. And these scholarship programs definitely give you an edge towards your future. So regarding my experience in Bertelsmann, so in Bertelsmann track, I've had teamwork, many teamworks, several meetings happening, and these optional projects were answered during the teamwork. And it also gave me a lot of opportunities to participate in competitions, such as hackathons and things, and that gave me a learning experience towards the program. So how do I manage my time? I manage a diary called Evernote. Evernote is easy to handle. You can install it in one mobile or one PC, and then you can work on it. You can have planning for 1 or 2 days ahead. And for projects, maybe you can have an implementation roadmap. And these diary handling especially helps people handle day-to-day tasks. That's how I've been helpful with. So I manage my diary. It's also free to use. And how do I get involved in the community? Yeah, so quality content are shared by students across the world. We get a lot of events to participate in, and you should make effort to follow all the channels inside the Slack and participate in the study group events. And the key takeaways. So industry skills are taught by Udacity to people, and it provides an exposure to a community-driven platform. The students and professionals collaborate on and gain knowledge about techniques in enterprises. Udacity course is one of the best courses that I've seen globally. It's held globally as well. Thank you. Thank you, Palak, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Ashwin. And I'm sure that your second and very useful tips regarding the experience could be very useful and handy for scholars who are just about to begin their phase 1 journey. Okay. Hey everyone, so as we mentioned, we have
Hey, Brenda, are you able to see my screen again?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so just wrapping up with some of the pointers, key things that you should take away from this orientation. When does the challenge phase end? The deadline for phase 1 is February 14th, 2022. How can you fulfill the active participation requirement? By starting the challenge course before January 4th, 2022. And this would mean that you are at least clicking into a classroom and completing at least like one concept inside one of the lessons. This is like the least, but obviously you can make more progress before January 4th. Do you need to complete all the challenge coursework? Yes, because completing 100% of the challenge course is one of the criteria for getting ahead to phase 2. So definitely you have to complete the whole challenge coursework. And do you have to take the final assessment test? Yes, because again, the final assessment test is one of the requirements, one of the necessities for getting ahead to phase 2. So you'll have to take the final assessment test in the window that it remains open between February 16th to February 18th, 2022. You will receive a link to answer the final assessment on February 16th as the assessment opens up. Okay, and now time for the Q&A session. Again, I think most of you would have already been posting your questions, but just in case you have more questions or you would have like missed starting housekeeping items, please go ahead and post any question that you have in the EMA sessions channel of the Slack workspace of your track. If there are any questions or statements that you really like agree with or you also want to ask, place a heavy plus emoji over the post and we'll know that you also want to ask that to us. And we'll try to get answers to give you answers to as many questions as we can, but we'll start with the questions that have the highest number of plus emojis. And okay, this is an exercise for later after we end the Q&A session, but then just a reminder that the motivation prompts that you had received during the orientation, as we were beginning the orientation session, you can either utilize the Slack bot, which you will see in your like direct message section of Slack to record your thoughts, or either you can also share those motivations with each other in the motivation Slack channel. Make sure to use the hashtag reflect in your post if you're sharing it in the motivation channel. Okay, let's get started with the Q&A session.
Okay, so I'm going to be taking the questions that have been posted in Slack. I just wanted to remind anyone, because Slack is new for so many of you. So you'll find the join link for your Slack workspace. This is dedicated just for Bertelsmann learners, for those accepted into the challenge program. It is also just for your track. So for example, if you're enrolled in the AI track, you will receive the Slack link to the Slack workspace for AI and not the Slack workspace for data. And you guys won't be commingling. We've decided to keep you all separate. Okay, so again, once you get to the Slack workspace, you'll look in the left sidebar. You'll see a list of channels, channel names. Just click on the one that says AMA_sessions. Okay. What I'm going to do to be most fair, because we have 3 workspaces again, is I'm going to start alphabetically. I'm going to take about 3 questions from each workspace. So we're going to start with the AI track. And Bram has a question. Out of curiosity, how many applications were there and how many of us were selected?
Sure. So I personally do not have the final numbers yet, but what I know of is that we definitely had more than 45K applications. And as you know from the scholarship details on Udacity, we have there are 15,000 learners across, distributed across the 3 tracks in this scholarship challenge phase.
And that also answers Ankit, which asks how large was the competitive pool from which you all were selected. So it takes quite, so just know, I think that like what Pollock said in the orientation slides, imposter syndrome affects so many of us in the first few weeks, but know that you were selected, you made it through the application to the stage for a reason. We believe you have what it takes to complete this challenge course. Okay, Faithful asks, what if more than 1,600 people pass the assessment and complete all the lessons with exercises? How will the selected 1,600 be selected?
If such a case arises, most likely relative scores on the final assessment test will be taken into consideration, but so this would be definitely like one criteria to select the final 1,600. And which is why we would say that be as alert and careful and prepared for your final assessment test.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, we are going to hop on over to the cloud track now as we move alphabetically. And apologies, I'm really trying to skim through here fast and try to get the ones with the most emojis. So Alex asks, how long is the final assessment test?
So, like a very relevant question, which many of the scholars have been actually asking. So the assessment test will be available for a duration of 48 hours, but there is no specific time. So you can attempt it even if you want to go off and get off, or you have network issues, you can attempt it again. Like, you cannot take the test again, but you can continue with the test for any time during the 48 hours.
Okay, thank you. Jitesh asks, 1,500 seats for all 3 tracks, or is it for each individual track?
So 15,000 scholars across, it's the total of scholars.
Sorry,
phase 1 from all the 3 tracks. And if you mean how many scholars would be selected for the phase 2, that would be 1,600 scholars, a total of 1,600 from the 3 tracks.
Okay. One last question before we move on to the next Stack Workspace. Is it the 1,600 in phase 2 in each stream, or all streams together? Did you just answer that?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Great. Let me get one last question from Cloud. Let's see here. Is the final assessment proctored, as in should the space around us be silent? Working from home can be noisy.
I'm sorry, I missed the question.
Is the final assessment proctored, as in should the space around us be silent, as working from home can be so noisy?
Yes, that's a very good question actually, and I'll definitely get back on it and see how is it how the format is. It's definitely online and MCQ format, but if it requires definitely it will require concentration and focus. So if you can be in a space that has the lesser distractions possible, but we'll definitely reach out to the team to confirm what exactly is there any specific environment requirement.
Okay, great. Okay, now we're going on to the data track. Hello, data scholars. Let me looking through here really quickly. Let's see. Some of these have been answered already. By the way, thank you all so much. Pollock, again, will be managing 3 separate workspaces. So the more that you can look through the FAQs on the Google site and answer each of the questions, then that answer is out there and you can all continue sharing that answer, and it leaves Pollock free to attend to other things. Okay, and apologies. Kairara asks, is the final assessment timed?
Okay, so again, what we've heard of is you should not take more than 60 minutes to answer all of the questions, but then it is not timed. So once you start the test, during the 48 hours, you can like get off. There's no provision to pause actually, but you can get off because the link will be active and you can then continue with the test. But to be like just a little and very important reminder that you cannot go back to the questions that you've already attempted. So even if you like move away, close the window within that 48 hours and open it again, you will only proceed through the questions that you've not attempted or you've not skipped. So the part of the test that you've not completed yet.
I think it's also important to note, because I saw some students asking if the final assessment can be taken at a different date and time.
Yeah, it's unfortunately it's only like it would be available only for the window of 48 hours between February 16th and February 18th, and therefore we'll request that you try to reserve a space already on your calendars for the assessment.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's no exceptions to this. That assessment must be taken during that window. So please try to block your calendars now and make room for it, as Pollock said. Okay, final question for or second last question for the data track. Diana asks, will a certificate be offered after the challenge course for those who will not proceed to phase 2?
Okay, so a certificate will not be offered for phase 1. That said, we'll be providing you with some language that you can utilize to like highlight your experience from phase 1, all your learnings from phase 1 on LinkedIn and other such like professional profiles. So not a certificate, but definitely we'll be providing you with some language and content that you can use on LinkedIn and other portfolios.
Okay, one last question for data. Anna asks, is it mandatory to post everything in Slack, or is it just a support tool?
So as we mentioned, specifically this time for Bertelsmann scholarship, and this is a new Slack is a supportive tool and a resource that you should use to like get the maximum out of this journey. So you are not required to post mandatorily, but definitely utilize it along the way to get the maximum learnings as well as experience and ideas and to like connect with your global pool of scholars.
Okay, fantastic. I'm going back to the AI track now. There was a question if there are going to be, I passed the question, but I remembered it. Will there be study buddies as part of this program? Study buddy groups?
Oh, we've not yet like it's not officially in the community initiatives outline, but you are like all it's the floor is open for anyone to like conceive a community initiative, a community program, and then like give it life in the community. So we are open for all ideas and the amazing initiatives that you could plan, and you'll have my support whatever you need to execute them.
Okay, some of these with a lot of votes we've asked about. This one from Adam: if we make it through to the program, is Bertelsmann going to offer us jobs or help us find jobs?
As far as I know, there are definitely going to be some info sessions around the various opportunities that Bertelsmann has and which could be like utilized by these scholars, but it does not directly there will be no direct like implementation of this, that if you graduate or if you pass on from this opportunity, there'll be a direct recruitment opportunity. There'll be some information sessions, but then the path to the recruitment will be your own.
Okay, and again, Paula, can you review what is the criteria for selection for the full scholarship program?
Definitely. So like two main pointers in that. First one is that you have to complete 100% of the challenge course, which means each of the lessons, going through each of the lessons, all of the videos, attempting each of the questions in all of the quizzes, and completing all of the exercises. And this would mean like 100% completion of the challenge course. And then the next part is the final assessment. So you have to attempt the final assessment, and your score, your relative score in the final assessment will also be like a deciding factor in the phase 2 selections.
Okay, thank you, Pollock. Moving on to the cloud track now. Hello, cloud scholars. Tobias asks, are the scholarships reoccurring after completing a track? will there be an opportunity to take one of the other tracks in the future?
Oh, unfortunately, it's the setup is not this kind, but the scholarship, the Bertelsmann scholarship, has been recurring in the way that we have had. But this is like kind of fourth round of Bertelsmann scholarship that like Bertelsmann and Udacity have come together and like offer. But you won't be able to like switch tracks once you've completed one in this one cycle.
Okay. Thank you. Taking the question from Murad, what type of questions will we face in the final assessment?
As we've heard and we've known from the team, the questions will only be like testing your knowledge of the challenge course content, and they'll be based on how much you've grasped from the challenge course. So yeah, everything would be like, it would be based on your learnings from the challenge course content.
Okay, and a couple questions from Miwa and Rahma John on, are you able to tell exactly how many questions are in the final assessment?
For that, I would say not really right now. We don't have that information, but as I mentioned, we will be gathering, like as we move deeper into the program, we'll be gathering more information and regarding the final assessments, and we'll be updating that in the FAQs on the Google site, and also we'll be letting you know through the announcements in the community, in the Slack communities.
Okay, thank you. Okay, going back to the data track again. Hello again, data scholars. Let's try to find those questions for Palak. Okay, Ashraf asks, will our social contributions count in getting the nano degree?
Okay. If you would, with social contributions, if you, Ashraf, if you could like highlight or specify more, if you,
I think he's talking about Slack community contributions.
Yes. So this time, as we mentioned in the criteria, Slack, like your involvement in the community is something that you can utilize as a resource, but it's not a part of the selection criteria. So you'll not be, like it won't it won't be involved in the phase 2 selections, but definitely as a resource, it's definitely going to help you in reaching that stage.
Yeah, I wanted to just make a quick note. I really appreciate, I see some of you like Suzanne's in the data track. I know Carlotta is in the cloud track, answering questions for other students. Again, we really appreciate that. Let's see, is it possible to request a new Slack channel? Say definitely. A country-specific Slack channel.
Definitely. So we'll be sharing a Slack channel request form in the Slack communities tomorrow, and through that form you will be able to like request certain channels, and based on the requests that are most frequently asked for, we'll be creating on a weekly basis. We'll be adding more Slack channels to the workspace.
And last question from the data track. Tim asked, in previous rounds, how many people met the 100% completion standards, for example, or how many progressed to the final selection?
In terms of final completion rate, and Brenda can actually like correct me if I'm wrong, but we've had an average of 30 to 32% scholars from the scholarship cohorts completing the challenge course in all of our like previous scholarships. And recently we've like seen an increase in that number. So definitely more and more scholars consuming utilizing the opportunity and consuming the content, and making use of the opportunity.
Yeah. I just want to reiterate too, this is such a fantastic opportunity that Bertelsmann is giving you all to learn fundamental skills in an area that you want to advance in. So no matter whether you are selected for the full scholarship or not, you are still gaining really valuable skills that we know learners have gone on to get a promotion, switch jobs, advance to their career. So still, no matter what happens, you're still really fortunate to learn this material. And again, if you don't receive the full scholarship, there will be other opportunities for you to apply. Please go to our Udacity scholarships page. You can enter your email to be alerted whenever a new scholarship program is launched. So you'll be the first to know, the first to submit your application. And sometimes we have scholars that take a couple tries in a program, that undergo a couple challenges before they receive that full scholarship. But there are opportunities for everyone. So please don't give up, and know too that you're learning some really valuable skills. Okay, I know that we're at time here.
Yes.
Pollock, did you want to wrap it up, or did you want to take a couple more questions?
Yeah, Brenda, I was seeing some repeated questions in the chat, and also while I was looking at the AMA sessions previously in the community. So I just wanted to cater to them. First of all, regarding there are some requests to change the track, change the field of learning for the scholarship. Unfortunately, that won't be possible. So if you have been selected in a particular track, say the data, cloud, or AI track, you have to keep pursuing the same. There's no provision to change the scholarship track. Also, this is more of a request. Please refrain from sharing any of your personal details. Definitely, it's a pool of global scholars, so please go ahead and share your LinkedIn profiles and others, but refrain from sharing your contact numbers and your email addresses in the public channels on community. We want to keep these the whole Slack community space as safe and exclusive for you as possible. And yeah, I guess we have covered most of the questions. Brenda, if you've seen any pressing question, otherwise
I think we can wrap it up. I just wanted to wish all of you the best of luck during this challenge phase. You all are remarkable. You never cease to amaze me with your brilliance and your smarts. This is a fantastic learning opportunity. Make connections here. It's the most amazing way to network around the globe. I'm wishing you all the best. We'll post the live stream. You can access the recording from the live stream. So we'll be sharing that again in the Slack workspace and the Google site, as well as posting the